Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of our EAFC 25 career mode here with Southampton, where we're going to be heading into season 3 today with our Saints side after our 10th place finish in the Premier League in the previous episode. Of course, just a quick little overview here. We did finish 10th and knocked out in the third round in both the EFL and the FA Cup. The board are very happy with our performance, so let's just dive straight into the new season with lots to crack on with. So we're going to start off the season by seeing the Jan Bednarek deal officially go through as he departs for Leicester City. Now what I'm going to do is take a look at the budget, see if that money has been added or not. Where this year we are dealing with a budget of, where are we, 58 million. So I think that's roughly around the same as what we started last year at. Maybe a little bit more. I can't remember off the top of my head. I was thinking we might get a little bit more this year after the top half finish, but yeah, just shy of 58 million pound to spend. But I am just going to sim through to the second of the month. I wonder if that money... Yeah, no, the money from Bednarek hadn't gone into... What's going on there? The money from Bednarek hadn't gone into the budget yet, so it does actually bring us up to just shy of 63 million. And we do have a couple of players that will be looking to shift on this year, as that will also bring in some more funds. Yeah, just taking a very quick look through the squad hub here. We've lost Alex McCarthy, so we'll have to bring in a third choice keeper. We've got a few players with their contracts up. Larios is back at the club as well. So yeah, good to get some of the loan players back. But as I say, a couple of players with their contracts up at the end of the season. Some we will be looking to sell on, some will be staying at the club. I'm really not sure what's going to happen with Mateus Fernandes. 3 years left on his deal, but yeah, just really not getting on with him too much. Still lots of players out on loan, and Antonio's not actually retiring at the end of the season. Well, I thought he would. In that case, I will most likely just look to sell him then, because he's pretty unhappy at the club. Well, I have just given out a few new contracts to the players with their deals up at the end of the season. So Sam Edozie, Kamaldeen Sulemana and Juan Larios have all signed new deals. But for Gavin Bazunu, he wanted to go from sporadic to an important squad role. And I just can't guarantee him that. With Muric here as well, also on the important squad role, I just can't guarantee him the football. So I have ended those negotiations for now. I'll maybe try again in January to see if we can get him to sign a new deal. But at 24 years of age, he is a good young upcoming goalkeeper, so I don't really want to let him go. But at the moment, he's number 2 to Muric. Well, I have just offered out another 2 contracts. First to Ilya Gruev, who's agreed to take a slightly reduced squad role, now down to rotation, which will help keep him happy at the club. And also Taylor Harwood-Bellis. I said I was going to give him a new contract, mainly to ward off interest, as he is our vice captain. Nice big pay packet increase up to 50 grand a week, which does make him our joint second highest earner at the club. So yeah, Taylor signs a new deal, and that means that he won't be going anywhere in this summer window. So that does leave Leif Davis, Shea Charles and Mikel Antonio on the transfer list. Of course, Davis is there and I can't get rid of him. But as for Shea Charles and Antonio, looking to get rid of both of those guys. Shea Charles just isn't going to make it. We've got better players in those positions who are much higher rated. And Antonio was great in season 1 for us, but now at 36, down to 71 overall. And he's our joint second highest earner at the club with Taylor Harwood-Bellis. There's no way he's justifying being on 50 grand a week. So just looking to get his wages off the books. Well, I tell you what, guys, before we do anything else, I am going to do some free agent scouting. I definitely said that I wanted a third choice goalkeeper, so we'll probably look at someone like Jack Anick or someone like that to come in and barely kick a ball, but just be a squad player and third choice keeper. But yeah, going to do a full look through the free agents and see if we can find anyone decent. Well, guys, I've just spent about 20-30 minutes scouring the free agents pool, and I found a few good players, to be fair. Divock Origi is in there. I did say I wanted a third choice striker, but I'm not sure on Origi. It doesn't really seem like a Southampton signing to me. Andy Irving's been released by West Ham. He'd be a decent squad player. Jefferson Lerma would be a great option, but I did use him in the Palace save at the end of FC24 very recently, and I do want to bring back JWP as well, so I'm not sure on Lerma. Ross McCrory's a pretty solid all-rounder. He can play right back, centre back, and probably could do a job in centre mid as well. The main one though, Presnel Kimpembe. I'm not sure whether it's realistic. Would Kimpembe come to a mid-table Southampton side? I don't know. I really don't know. But I did say I wanted like a backup centre-back, so I don't know. But the signing that I am going to make, not a particularly exciting one, Scott Carson in the free agents pool. And just want to very quickly sort of touch on this. What a life it is for a third choice goalkeeper at any big club. You look at Scott Carson, 40 years of age. Obviously, it's a few years on from the save, but he just, he's at Man City. He's living his best life. He turns up to training. He's there on match days. He's winning silverware for fun. What a career for Scott Carson. What I would give to be a backup third choice goalkeeper at a football club. You're not really ever going to be called on. You've kind of had your career playing at whatever level. Scott Carson mainly in the EFL, and now he's gone to Manchester City, and he's just winning loads of trophies. It's brilliant. So Scott Carson comes in. He's our new Alex McCarthy. He's not going to play a single minute. He knows that. But he's just here for the absolute shits and gigs. 58 overall. Everyone loves Scott Carson. And he's just going to sit in the reserves, and he's never going to get a game. What a life for Scott Carson. Well, one thing we do need to take a look at is the board objectives for this season. They want us to sign at least 3 players younger than 20 with a potential greater than the average overall rating of players currently in the same position. I reckon the 3 lads that we've got in the academy might get us to hit that anyway. They want us to get a streak of 5 games without defeat. I reckon we can do that. Sign 1 crucial first team player assigned to the midfield position. Reduce player wages. I just do not think is going to happen. And wow, look at that for the domestic objectives. Finish in a Europa League spot and the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. So the board are giving us some tougher objectives, and of course in FIFA or FC, finish in a Europa League spot only classes as 5th place. So yeah, are we good enough for that? I don't think so. Honestly, I'm not sure we're good enough. So we'll have to wait and see how the season pans out. But what I am going to do is promote the young lads that we've got in the academy here. So Hodgson, Shane Malcolm, and also Elliot Cole are all going to go to the senior team, and all will get loaned out. Well, Shane Malcolm being sub 60 overall means we can't check his potential. But as for Matthew Hodgson, as expected, he does have that potential to be special. And I think Cole's not 60 overall yet either. I think he will when he gets there though. So all of those guys will be added to the loan list. We've already got a lot of our young players out on loan, and those 3 will be added to that. So I think what I'm going to do is just start simming through, at least for the time being. I'm not sure what I'm going to do on Kimpembe. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Well, signing those 3 youth players has got us to hit the youth development objective, which is good because that's a critical objective. And I'm just thinking about these free agents that I've got. I think I might go for Kimpembe, you know. It may not be the most realistic signing, but, you know, he's been in France for most of his career. And there is a big pool of the Premier League. We might only be a mid-table side, but yeah, depending on how much money he wants, no one's come in for him yet. I really want to bring him to the club as a backup centre-back option. So he does want that crucial squad role, which he's probably not going to be. So he's probably going to end up handing in a transfer request. I have no idea how much money to offer him here. There's every chance that he might walk out of this. But, do you know what? I'm going to give him a 40 grand a week contract with an 80 grand a week signing on bonus. I have no idea how much he is expecting. And, well, it's not too much more. I don't really want to pay all of that signing on bonus. It's a big chunk of money. And, well, he's not really budging. I don't want to make him one of the highest earners at the club, so we might have to just bite the bullet on the signing on bonus. I mean, he is going to be one of the highest earners, but I don't want to make him the highest earner. So 55 grand a week, and Presnel Kimpembe joins us after being released from PSG. Let's see what rating he's going to be. So Kimpembe is in. Where is he? Presnel Kimpembe, 82 overall. So that's not too outlandish. It's not like we've brought in an 85, 86 overall player on a free agency. So Kimpembe is here. He is a left footer as well, which I quite like. That gives us the kind of extra option of having a left footer. Whether he's going to displace Solé or Harwood Bellis, I don't think so. Not start straight away anyway. But yeah, a really experienced player, has played for the French national team, has played in the Champions League, won many titles in France. And we do see a lot of players when they reach their 30s heading over to the Premier League, as there's such a big appeal. So Kimpembe, our first real signing of the season after his release from PSG. I quite like that one, you know. Well, interestingly enough, here come the bids for Leif Davis. And I'll be honest, I don't really know what to do with this, because I say the only reason, it's not necessarily the only reason. He had a good season for us, but the only reason we're going to receive so many offers is because he is on the transfer list. And the whole transfer listing situation's a bit ridiculous anyway. I think I'm going to keep Leif Davis here at the club for this season. I know I would normally negotiate and look to sell my players if a big club comes calling, but we're gonna literally get bids for him from every team in the Premier League because he's transfer listed. And with 3 years left on his deal, I'm wanting one more year out of Leif Davis. I think the transfer listing was a bit ridiculous. So yeah, I'm going to turn all the bids down for Leif Davis that come in, at least for this season. Well, I've just delegated this loan for one of the young lads, Elliot Cole, and also negotiated a bid with Luton, just relegated back down to the Championship, coming in for Shay Charles. I think that would be quite a good deal for both parties. So it looks as if that will be our first sale of the season. We've got another couple of bids here, as Mikel Antonio is wanted by Watford. Yeah, I quite like that. Mikel, thank you for your service, but yeah, you can head back down to the Championship, and hopefully we can get Shane Malcolm out on loan here as well. Well, first deal of the window going through here. It is Shay Charles heading to Luton. As I said earlier on, I don't think the transfer window this year around is going to be quite as manic as it was last year. Obviously, we had a big clear out over last summer, whereas we've already sort of done the work from last year, so we're kind of left with the players we want at the club. So yeah, I don't think this summer's going to be quite as big of a clear out, but yeah, it looks as if Elliot Cole is also going to be heading out on loan to Red Star FC. And there's another deal going through. Goodbye Mikel Antonio. Really important signing in season 1 from West Ham, now heading to Watford, back down in the Championship. Interesting bid here for the captain, Kyle Walker-Peters, coming in from Brighton, who finished below us in the league last year. So not the greatest of seasons for the Seagulls, but I'm going to turn that down. Walker-Peters now 29. I'm most likely just going to keep him at the club until he retires, as he is our club captain, of course. So yeah, interesting bid from Brighton, but KWP going nowhere. And that is a big bid there from Bayer Leverkusen for Omar Solé. Chief exec reckons we can get up to around 50 million. So yeah, I'm not going to stand in his way if we can agree on a deal, but I'm certainly not going to sell for cheap with still 3 years left on his deal. Going to go in at 55 million, and they're not budging on 34.5. Are you sure, Xabi Alonso? I know that's not actually Xabi Alonso, but are you sure, lad? Just 34.5 million. He's worth a lot more than that. And okay, that's more like it. 50 million for Omar Solé. That would be a huge transfer fee received for someone that we signed. Oh, okay. Okay, I was going to say for someone that we signed for a lot less than that. I think 50 million is reasonable, but Bayer Leverkusen do not. They were willing to pay 46.5, but wouldn't fork out the extra 3.5 for the Frenchman. Well, I said I wasn't going to stand in his way. I don't feel like I prized him out of the deal, because 50 million to me seems like a fair fee, but not to Bayer Leverkusen. Not an issue for me, as Elliot Cole heads out on loan, and for the time being, Solé stays on the south coast. Another offer here for KWP, the captain, but from another side that finished below us in the Premier League last year. So, as I mentioned, when the bid came in from Brighton, I'm not interested in letting the captain go. Got a few more loans I'm trying to push through here. I'm not too fussed about the pre-season tournaments, and that is a big one from Arsenal. But, and this is why I gave him that new deal at the beginning of the season, he's just signed a brand new contract, Taylor Harwood-Bellis, vice captain. And I always think if someone's just signed a new contract, even if a big club comes calling, they're sort of off the table for at least until the next transfer window, and possibly even for a whole calendar year. So big bid from Arsenal, and we could have sold, and if we hadn't offered him that new contract, I would have been negotiating. But having just signed, I said that I see him as my long-term captain, and I'm not trying to stand in my players' ways here. But yeah, Taylor Harwood-Bellis just signed that new deal. I don't think it's very realistic that he would then head off to Arsenal. Well, guys, we'll take a look at this. Just looking through the squad hub here, we've literally just loaned Elliot Cole out, and he's had that big overall boost from, what was he, 58 up to 65. So that is the importance of loaning out your youth players. It really does make a massive difference. Now 75 finishing on the lad, and he's literally been out of the club for 1 day. That is ridiculous. But I think I'm going to make my next signing here. We discussed it previously last summer, as we wanted to bring him back to the club. I think you guys know who it is, and yeah, real big fan favourite on the south coast. James Ward-Prowse, of course, heading out to Nottingham Forest in real life this season, but sort of surplus to requirements at West Ham now. We can get him for probably around £10 million. JWP, it is time to return home. Yeah, I reckon we can get him for around 10 to 12 million here as well. They want Kyle Walker-Peters, which is just not going to happen. I'm going to go in again at 10 million, because I don't really know where I stand with that. 10.1, really, J-Lo? 10.1 million then for JWP. So JWP is in returning to the club where it all started. 31 years of age, and he does sign quite a pricey 3-year contract on 50 grand a week, but that should take him to his retirement at the club, I believe. So that does just sort of bolster out the, if we go to the team management, that does just sort of bolster out the squad a little bit. He will jump up onto the bench for the time being. And yeah, that does just give us a few more options especially in that midfield. So I'm not really too sure where else to improve on. I discussed maybe bringing in a replacement for Brereton Diaz, but I do like him on that left-hand side. I'm really not too sure where to spend my money this year. Last year I had a bit of a plan on what I was going to be doing, but this year not so much. Well, another of the young lads going out on loan. It's not a youth academy player, but Juan Larios heading to Carrow Road for 2 years. As I mentioned at the end of last season, we've got Leif Davis and Shirkin currently ahead of him, and he needs to be getting game time. So heading to the Championship, where a lot of our other youngsters have developed really well. Well, another interesting bid from Fulham for one of our sort of squad players, Kamaldeen Sulemana. Just signed a new deal though, of course, and similarly to Harwood Bellis, I don't see him signing a new deal. I don't think I can ever recall a situation where a player signed a new deal and then left like a couple of weeks later. The only one I can think of, and he was absolutely slandered for it, was Fabian Delph when he moved from Aston Villa to Man City. The guy was called a snake for the rest of his career, so it very rarely happens. So Sulemana looks set to stay. Yeah, I'm just thinking again where we really need to sign some players, and I'm pretty happy with the squad. Of course, we're still not playing in Europe, so we don't need like an absolute monstrous squad. The only position we do really need to bring someone in is a third choice striker. And I have got a few names on the shortlist. The two that I've sort of whittled it down to is either Troy Parrott, the former Tottenham man. I think he came through the youth academy at Tottenham. Now 24 years of age, currently playing in the Netherlands for AZ Alkmaar, quite a physical player. And the other is Sekou Mara, who was at Southampton for a period of time, but it never really worked out for him. He's a year younger at 23. Both players are quite big and physical at 6 foot and 6'1". So I don't really know who to go for. I do quite like the idea of bringing Sekou Mara back to the club. And of course, Southampton do have quite a rich history of signing young players and sort of developing them. He's only going to cost us a few million more than Troy Parrott. So I think I am going to go after Sekou Mara as our third choice striker behind Cameron Archer and, of course, the main man, Evan Nilsson. Just going to go in with a valuation bid for Mara. They want Will Smallbone, which is a bit of an interesting one, but don't really want to let Smallbone go. The tension bar's hardly filled up, so I'm going to go 5.75 million. And Strasbourg, owned by, of course, the Chelsea owners, happy to let Sekou Mara return to the Premier League. So Sekou Mara returns to the Premier League and returns to Southampton. And I think he was in the PSG Youth Academy as a youngster before bursting onto the scene at Bordeaux. He then got his move to the Saints, where he spent a couple of years. And I think it was actually this summer that he moved to Strasbourg. So now in the save, bringing him back to Southampton on a sporadic squad role as well, which means he shouldn't moan too much about his lack of game time. So Sekou Mara as third choice striker to replace Mikel Antonio. I think that's a really good signing of a good young French forward. Well, a bit of a ridiculous bid here from Crystal Palace coming in for Abdul Fatawu, offering Eberechi Eze plus 7 million. I mean, that's just never going to happen in real life, is it? Career mode transfer market is just all over the place. But Fatawu only signed last summer, only had 1 full year with the club. And yeah, I'm not looking to sell him, especially not to a team that finished below us in the Premier League. I'd only really consider if it was one of the traditional top 6 coming in for him. Well, there is another of the youngsters, Hodgson, heading out on loan. His face is so odd in game, man. I love the ponytail, but yeah, his facial features are all over the place. Heading out on loan to Cosenza, where I have had good luck in the past sending youth players. So the only player really left in the team that I'm actively trying to get rid of is the backup keeper, Shane Malcolm. But all of the deals seem to be breaking down at the moment, so Maybe I should have just left him in the youth academy. But I do like the look of the team. We've got enough depth and cover in the reserves with Wood and Shirkin, Smallbone and Mara. And the bench is really strong as well. The only position I would really consider upgrading now is that left midfield position. And maybe sending a Dozy out on loan. I'm not too sure. If we get any bids for Fernandez as well, then I would consider it. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how the team is looking heading into Season 3. We're a young team, we're developing, and we're only going to continue getting better over time. Well, we've still got around 45 million in the budget. I'm not necessarily in a rush to spend it, so quite happy heading into the season with the team as it is. There is one signing I wanted to make, and I had a comment about this man, and funnily enough, he actually used to play for my local team, Crawley Town, Tom Fellows. He's moved to Feyenoord in the Save, where obviously they won the Eredivisie last year undefeated, so he's obviously doing quite well out there. And he's not a very glamorous signing, but he's just pretty solid. He can play right mid, left mid. He can probably do a job at fullback as well, because he's actually not too bad defensively, or at least in real life. So, as I say, not the most glamorous of signings, and he's probably not going to play it too much. But for just a couple of million quid, Tom Fellows, I'd like to bring him back to England. He has a bit of a special place in my heart, being a former Crawley Town player. Yeah, so as I say, not the most glamorous signing that, but he can play on either side. As I say, I reckon he could do a job at fullback and potentially in the centre of the park as well, because he's pretty well-rounded other than his defensive stats, which are quite low. But Tom Fellows, former Crawley Town man, playing in the Premier League. You love to see it. Welcome to Southampton. Right, well, you know what? We've got all that money left in the bank, but I think we might as well just jump into the first game of the season. We might see an area that needs improving once we've played our first few games. We are travelling to Ellen Road, where we lost last year against Leeds United. And in fact, who came up last year with... it was Leeds, Leicester and Ipswich Town back in the Premier League. An instant bounce back to the top flight. So to be fair, you love to see that. Fair play Ipswich. But yeah, Leeds United, not newly promoted. Sorry, it was Bournemouth who came up last year, but certainly a game that we should be targeting all 3 points. We had too many draws last year in the Premier League, and I want to make sure we get off to a winning start here. Come on, you Saints. So underway here at Ellen Road, and yeah, these are certainly the games that we must be picking up all 3 points if we're to try and push for European football this season. We lost here last year by 1-0. Joel Perreault goal in the second half in what was a pretty poor performance from the Saints. And as Muric makes the stop early, it's been a slow start here once again. Looking for a teammate here. Has to check back and finds Downs. And there is Evan Nilsson. Evan Nilsson, tight angle, but it doesn't matter. The Brazilian finds the back of the net. And Southampton lead on match day 1 of the new Premier League season. That's a big goal, that, from Evan Nilsson. That is going to do it for the first half. I wouldn't say we've been assertive, but we do have the lead, which is the most important thing. Walker-Peters into Stein. And Stein looking for Fatawu. It's a lovely ball. And can Fatawu get away? Looks for Evan Nilsson. And it's a good save by the keeper. Much better build-up, though, from the Saints as Fatawu swings that corner in deep. Solé, oh, he couldn't keep it in on the stretch. That was a chance for the big Frenchman up from the back, though. And Yusuf offloads to Stein. And can we grab a second on the break? Stein looking to go all the way. Brilliant by Stein. Has he got the finish? Yes, he does. And that is going to do it. Stein in from the start today. And he's taken that attacking midfield position and made it his own. Terrible limbs in the away end. But Southampton are going to get off to a winning start in the Premier League. Well, there is the whistle. And it's a brilliant victory on match day 1 of the Premier League season. I said it's the sort of game that we should be winning, but you've still got to get the job done. 2 goals scored as well, which we know is our biggest issue, and celebrations for the travelling fans, as that's a lovely brick wall there. Thank you, cameraman. But yeah, a good win on match day 1 of the Premier League season, and definitely something to build on from here. Well, guys, I think that's where we will leave it for today's episode. I feel like we've made some pretty good progress now into season 3 of the save already. Some pretty decent signings, just bulking out the squad, bringing back James Ward-Prowse, some European quality with Presnel Kimpembe coming in after his release from PSG. But we've still got 45 million in the budget, so I do expect us to make at least 1 signing in the next episode. But I am pretty happy with the squad heading into the season. Off to a winning start as well, but a tricky test in our next game away at Old Trafford against the runners-up last year, Manchester United. I'll catch you for the next episode very soon, where we will close out the remainder of the transfer window and crack on into Season 3. Take care, guys, and peace.